Welcome to the Feist.
Everything you want to know about your favorite women's sports in one feisty hour.
With your feistiest friends,
Kelly O'Mara
and Sarah Gross.
And this week, we are talking to a also feisty organizer of the first ever Women's Decathlon World Championships. Women still don't get to do all 10 events, and we're going to find out why.
Yeah, it's
Hint, like the answer might be sexism. That's going to be my new segment. Is it sexism?
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
But first, we're going to talk a little bit about cycling, green dildos, crypto meme coins, and arrests at WNBA games, and our first voicemail, Kelly. Yay.
Yay. Cycling. I feel like I almost started this week with, we promise we're not becoming just a cycling newsletter and podcast, but there's a lot of cycling.
We are at the height of the cycling season, if you will. And cycling right now is kind of on the rise. Like the popularity of both road cycling with the Tour de France Femme, and then also the gravel cycling world's growing so quickly. So there's a lot to report on. People need to know.
It is. And Kate Courtney, who is she was a 2018 mountain bike world champion. She's very, very popular. Like if you know one mountain biker, you don't know mountain biking, it's probably Kate Courtney. And she, this past weekend, after having had surgery like 8 weeks ago, came back and set the course record at the Leadville 100, which is, again, like if you know about a mountain bike race, it's probably Leadville. It's one of the oldest. It's 105 miles in elevation in Colorado. And she broke a 10-year-old course record that was actually set by a former teammate of hers. So it was really like cute. They got to like pass the torch on. And actually the second place woman also like just went under that old record too. So it was one of those like rising tide boats.
Rising tide boats. I think that's the official phrase.
Yes.
What surgery did she have, Kelly?
She had surgery on her wrist, I believe. I don't know if you've ever seen. So she obviously normally races like mountain bike World Cups, World Championships. Those are shorter. They're like hour and a half races and far more technical. And if you follow her on Instagram, like, 500,000 people do, and I do, you've probably seen all these like crazy things they do and crashes and like flip, like crashes are not uncommon. And so, I think she broke her wrist and had to have surgery. And
right. I mean, crashes, I've been mountain biking 5 times in my life and I've crashed 2 out of the 5. So yeah, crashes must be common. And
they're definitely common. I always wonder how you, separate point, like emotionally come back from that. Like think about the crash. I mean, you and I have both had crashes, right? Mm-hmm. And on far less technical things, and the kind of like talking yourself back into getting out there. Mm-hmm. But you have to be able to do that at a whole nother level if you want to also still be like a world-class mountain biker, which is oof.
Yeah. The mental game's so different in different sports. It's amazing. Yeah, I never thought about that. You do have to get back on the bike, as it were. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she set a course record, which was, okay, so Kate is from around here. Like she went to the local high school by me. And I like see her out riding, not like recently because she had a broken wrist, but over like often. Mm-hmm. And she's had definitely like a harder year or two here. And so it was like, I think everyone was just very, very happy. She has a lot of fans, like very happy to see her kind of, I don't want to say come back because she was still like a world-class athlete, but have this like massive performance. Mm-hmm. And Leadville, like you were just saying, biking's having a surge in interest. And so it was also like the first time there was a live stream. So people were watching it. The women got their own start. So it was all this like stuff added to it being. And I had heard of Leadville. I didn't realize, and again, until this live stream, that it's like an out and back.
Right. There's this video. Either. Yeah.
There was this video of her just like bombing downhill, dodging people going uphill.
On the sand, like, too.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Like just watching. Well, yeah, there's people, they're literally like on, it's like wide, but not that wide. Like it's not a road.
It's a fire road. Yeah. I was like
and there's people like going the opposite way. And she's just, and it just looked, and what I saw anyway, it looked really sandy, which is wild because I can't control myself going any direction in sand on a bike.
It was crazy. So, because it is still also somebody also sent us this. It is a very popular mass participation race. And like in any of these like we went to Western States earlier this year, and going under 24 hours gets you like a belt buckle. Oh yeah. Or UTMB, it's 40 out, right? Like there are these different marks that people
Yeah,
that
the
mean
buckles.
something to people.
Like the buckles are a thing
you
in
get
ultra.
like a buckle.
Yes.
And there's certain time standards that mean things to different people in different universes. And like in ultra running, it's 24 hours. At
for 100 miles, right?
For 100 miles.
Like
right.
100 miles, if you run 100 miles, 24 hours at a major ultra running race, you get this buckle. And it's like point of pride. It's like the equivalent of like running a 3-hour marathon or something.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, so like a 3-hour marathon would be another good example that like is a time marker that means something to people, right?
Yeah.
I think like a 10-hour Ironman means something. So at Leadville, it's a 9-hour get you a belt buckle.
Right.
And someone pointed out that these times, these like standards were obviously established for when like men were the only people who did the race. So I gather that outside the pro women this year, there were only 9 women who went under 9 hours. So it's very, very hard. And so then the question is like, should there be some other
like why
standard for
like
belt buckle?
Why is there not a women's standard for the belt buckle? I've never thought about that. And I can see why. And it's funny because it's one of those things that like you can see in these sports where there's this appeal. Like there's a beauty kind of around the like 24-hour mark and anyone who makes it. But yeah, you're more likely to make it if you're a man. Like there should be a standard for
there's also
women,
I mean
for all of these things.
I was thinking about this after one of our cycling colleagues said this earlier today, because that's not like unique, right? Like there's like 3-hour marathon, like you just mentioned, or 10-hour Ironman,
but you don't get an official anything.
You don't, right? So I was gonna say, like,
it's just like unofficial.
Is it just right? But that's what I was thinking, is that there's not like we're never gonna change the fact that these things like mean something to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 3 hours is gonna mean something to people, regardless.
Right.
But the official thing, there probably should be like a different, right? Like it's gonna be whatever it is. It's going to always matter to somebody if they broke 40 minutes in the 10K, right? Like these things just like are times that are round numbers and matter to people.
Yeah.
But there probably should be like another. Though my husband, so there's one here that's like a bike hill climb, and under an hour is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And there's only ever like 2 or 3 women in the year that do it because it's quite challenging. So my husband's like, well, then you know those 3 women are really, really badass. And I was like, well, I guess that's true. Like,
right.
Like, so, it's like more of a big deal if you saw a woman wearing that t-shirt.
Right. But. And I think that's probably why people haven't pressed to change it, because those few women that do make those types of standards really do feel badass when they make them, because there's kind of an underlying understanding that they are making a male standard. Right. Does that make sense? Like they've made a standard that is set for men. There's a kind of an unconscious knowledge of that, or a conscious knowledge of that for some people. Like, so I think, I don't know. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. There should definitely be women's standards. The fields are getting deeper in these types of like endurance events for women. And if we're going to encourage them to get even deeper, we need to have those are they're kind of like amateur goals, if you will. Like if the pro goal, say the pro goal is for you to win or come top 3 or, whatever, regardless of like what the actual time is, you're out there competing to be number 1. As an amateur, one of your goals might be like that, to make that 24-hour belt buckle cutoff, or the 9-hour one in Leadville, or I think there's a 12-hour one also, because there's different like degrees of belt levels, buckles. Yeah.
There's also like it reminds me of the famous race in South Africa that's like the ultra marathon that goes between the 2 cities. Why am I losing the name of it now?
Oh yeah,
it's called like the marathons.
Disabla.
It has like Disabla is the one in Saharas, but yeah. And I want to say it's Cape something now. Anyway, it's famous. It has like 20,000 people that do it on the roads, and they have different color medals and different types of medals depending on what time you finish in.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole system of like you're trying to get your green medal or your gold or your like different, and they have names for them. So we probably just need like this very complicated system.
Very complicated.
To make it even more complicated.
That doesn't sound complicated to me. Like having different colors, that's not that complicated.
I think they're different
Comrades,
sizes too.
Kelly, it's called the Comrades Marathon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Google,
it's like,
thank you.
It's on my bucket list because it's absolutely epic that 20,000 people do a 52-mile race, whatever it is. It's about that long. In South Africa,
people do
it's massive. It's on TV live there.
I knew
like
it was huge. Yeah. And honestly, having raced in South Africa at the Ironman there, they live streamed the race all day long on local television. And the next day after, I came third. And the next day after the race, like people ID'd me on the street, like came up to me and congratulated me. Like the whole town, where was I? Port Elizabeth. The whole town was watching. Yeah, I loved that. I think Comrades is probably even a bigger deal than Ironman South Africa. Yes. So like, I can see how that live stream would get a lot of views. Having experienced that culture of it.
But they have a whole system of different special medals for different times. So.
Right. Yeah, you could have some kind of tiered, because I do like it. I do love having these amateur goals, and they should be slightly different for men and women. And there are already tiers with the belt buckles. I don't even know if they're like gold and silver belt buckles, bronze and iron. I don't know.
Yes.
Something
but
like
I will
that.
tell you, so the one ultramarathon I did, and someone can like call in and explain this to us. I thought they gave us a belt like in check-in, like without a buckle on it. And I guess it was supposed to, you were like, I ended up not earning a buckle. I don't know. Maybe I didn't go fast enough. Maybe that was the problem. But I guess like, so I have, so I just have this like strip of leather that I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I feel like I missed a memo.
I feel like that's a little bit sad for the people who don't. It's like they didn't. It almost makes you feel like you didn't complete something, instead of being like, I'm amazing, I just ran 50 miles or 100 miles or whatever.
Right.
You're like, but I missed out on getting the other half of this belt that I...
Very confusing. It was very confusing.
I cannot clasp my belt because I didn't go fast enough.
Yeah, no one explained to me what it was. So we should clearly add more complicated, confusing things in the sport that people can, gatekeep about. That
or just like a simple women's standard,
So anyway, I did watch some of Leadville though, because it was live streamed this weekend, and it was crazy to watch her just like bombing these descents. There's a lot of like in the weeds cycling talk about the right kind of bike and bars and tires and blips, but this isn't a cycling podcast.
This is not a cycling podcast. Let's talk about the WNBA instead.
I also watched some of that. It was Rivalries Week. Did you know that?
Oh, no. What is that, Kelly?
Yeah. They like in the NWSL and WNBA this past weekend, they were like promoting a bunch of rivalries. So like teams that so obviously San Francisco played LA.
I see. Like rivalry cities are paired against each other. Oh yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So it was Rivalries Week. Which is why I wasn't watching for the green dildos, but that has been the story of WNBA.
Honestly, like the way that this story came to me, I mean, a lot of people who follow women's sports have heard that there were like kind of these bright green dildos being thrown onto the court at WNBA games. And when I first heard it, I imagined like tons and tons of them, but it's not. It's
I did too.
There's been like 5 to 7, like one per game or maybe 2. At a game, at this particular game. And it started.
And the reason we're not sure if it's like 5 to 7 is some of them were prevented from reaching the court.
Right.
So it depends on what you count.
So I'm sorry. I think it's terrible that there's dildos being thrown on the court at WNBA game. But I'm going to laugh a lot during this segment because I also find this hilarious. Like someone was like taken down before they got to throw their dildo. Like, like what? So like on July 29th, it happened for the first time in Georgia at the Dream versus Valkyries game, and then Chicago in the first. And like as I was looking this up, because then there were like quotes from the police saying that they were trying to make arrests, and I'm like, okay, what are they being arrested for? The people who were doing this. So the illegal part of throwing dildos on the court is that it's like criminal trespassing, public indecency, disorderly conduct. There's 2 people who have been charged, right? The other one was charged with assault, I guess maybe when the dildo
hit somebody.
And a public display of explicit sexual material also.
Oh, that's a weird law. I gotta say, that's a weird law.
There's quite a lot of charges to be had. And then, sorry, I was sort of in the middle of another story, and then we talked, but like the way this came to me was that I'm scrolling social media and I just see this post that's saying like bright green dildos, no, cryptocurrency meme creators behind green dildo incidents in the WNBA. I'm like, what? What is happening? It just felt like someone was just making up a news story, you know?
Right. You do have to play the game right now. That's like, is this a real news story or not?
Right. Exactly.
And too often it is a real news story. And you're like, well, that's a shame. So yeah, there is a cryptocurrency promoter who has taken or claimed responsibility for this in an effort to promote their meme coin. That was like a green dildo, I guess. But now there's also like other betting platforms that are like placing, and I don't understand sport betting market, so I'm going to use like wrong terms here. But you can like place bets essentially on like how many dildos and what color, and so then trade crypto for that. So it's like encouraging it. And it has a very like, why can't you girls just take a joke vibe to it? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's a lot of like, oh, we were just kidding. Well, and you're like, sure.
Yeah. I love how like the guys behind the crypto meme coin, the particular green dildo one, are basically saying that they're trying to save crypto from scammers, like and assholes, which like seems wildly ironic to me when you're acting like an asshole by throwing green dildos on a court during a WNBA game. Right. Like you're not, like your misogyny is showing, guys. Like,
yeah, there was a whole thing where they were like, no, we're not being misogynist, which brings us to our segment. Is it sexist or just plain stupid? And you're like, they're kind of overlapping. Because they're like, well, these things have, like, obviously people stage pranks events at sports games all the time, but it's sort of like you guys picked the WNBA and you picked dildos in a league that's like heavily LGBT. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a whole lot of like coded reading between the lines here to be like, this doesn't feel in good faith.
100%. Yeah.
So
like misogyny doesn't have to be intentional. Like they don't have to, it can be internalized ideas about women's sports and what women are capable of, and you know what I'm saying, that like result in behaviors like throwing green dildos.
Do I know what institutionalized sexism is, Sarah? Yes, I know what you were saying.
I mean, I'm here for the explanations, Kelly.
Okay.
You're welcome. The part
that was really one of the things that's, like you said, there were a bunch of laws. Like, I don't think we have that last law you said here in California. So laws also vary by state. Right. And so does security. Because when I was hearing this, I was like, what are you talking about? You have to go through like security and a metal detector and they like look in your bag. And you're only allowed to bring bags of a certain size and they have to be clear. Like, I was like, how is this even happening? But I guess some of the stadiums are still like not as, like we play at Chase Center and that's big and it has security. And some stadiums like don't still have security or don't have that level. Right. So yeah, that's also really highlighted the WNBA is like not totally equipped to deal with stuff yet.
Like remember the whole stage after the bombing at the Boston Marathon where you had to go to every endurance event with your stuff in plastic bags?
Oh, you like still clear. Have to in the New York Marathon,
right?
Like they won't let you run with a vest or a hydration pack, which is like going to cause a problem for them because hydration packs are booming right now. Everybody's running with vests.
Right.
But you literally aren't allowed to at the New York Marathon because of that.
Right.
So I don't know what they're going to do.
I'm just imagining someone trying to come into the WNBA game with like a green dildo in a clear plastic bag.
Right. That's why I was like, how is this even a thing? Like they were taking away people's signs. You know what I mean? Like how is this happening?
Right.
So that is
hopefully they put a stop to this.
Hopefully.
Because really at the end of the day, geez, cut it out, you know?
Yeah. That's and like, obviously I think you and I were also thinking of like non-harmful dildos. Like I was like, how is that hurting anybody? But I gather some of them are also hard. And then there's like a like flying projectile that's being thrown at plate, right? So they like are hurting people.
Yeah.
So it's not good.
Yeah. No, it's not.
No.
Definitely not. And someone could trip. I don't know. It's not good. Overall, although slightly humorous.
Yes. Slightly ridiculous.
Yeah.
We did get our first on the topic of WNBA. and basketball. We did get our first voicemail from my mom.
From Kelly's mom? Okay, shall we listen to the voicemail together?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
Hey, this is Kelly's mom. You can make fun of me all you want, but I just want to clarify. If my team needs to make trades before the deadline, they're going to get outside shooters, not outside hitters. Get it right.
Kelly.
Go ahead.
She was so offended by the fact that I had said that they wanted outside hitters and not outside shooters.
I think, Kelly, the fact that your mom, our first voicemail is for your mom calling in to correct you there's something so beautiful about that. Like, I'm just like, you misspoke, Kelly. It's funny because it's when you said that last week about you said outside hitters, and I thought in my head, oh, I thought she said basketball, but they must have been at baseball. Like, I literally was like, I thought I misheard.
I don't know. Hitting, like, okay, so yeah, we were making fun of my mom for being all like, I don't know anything about basketball, and then launching into this whole thing about like how we need more outside shooters, but I said outside hitters. And in my head, I don't know, I just use hit to mean everything. Like, you got to hit it, you know? It's fine.
We just make up a whole new form of sports vocabulary.
She was very offended that if I was going to make fun of all the details that she knows about basketball, I should at least get the details right. So
I love it. And like for those who are new to the world of Kelly and I, we have podcasted before together. And one one podcast we used to do, Kelly's mom used to send us voice memos on a regular basis. And it was it was a wildly popular part of the podcast. Wasn't it? I used to hear about your mom all the time from people, even before I met her, like she became kind of like a personality in the podcast. Anyway, I miss those days. I'm so glad that your mom is listening again, Kelly. And so hopefully we'll have more of that, and hopefully more voice memos from.
I was going to say, voicemails are not limited to direct family members. You are welcome to send one. We will put the email in the show notes. I believe it's podcast@livefeisty.com that you can just send a voice note. Email is what I was about to say. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and in particular, sometimes we get messages online with folks who or we've put out a social media clip of the podcast and someone doesn't fully agree with what we're saying, which is totally fine.
Nobody does that.
Everybody
agrees with everything we say.
Completely agrees with everything. But in case you don't, we would love to hear from you, like an alternative opinion, or if you're hearing us talk and thinking, no, I really want to say this, that's the time to send a voice memo. Join the conversation.
It is. Counterpoint. I actually don't really want to hear from more people who disagree with me right now. Do not message me personally to tell me you think I'm wrong.
Right. Send it in as a voice memo to the podcast and we can discuss. Yeah. I kind of love that. And just widening the conversation. So yeah, send us a voice
Sarah,
memo.
as a Canadian, is much more open right now to disagreement. I, as an American who is in a dark place, am currently not open
it's
to
fair.
a lot more disagreement.
It's fair. Yeah. Maybe I can respond to the voice memos, Kelly.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. I'll take that on.
That was our recap of what we watched over the weekend, week of sports. And now, are you ready for this week's topic? Kelly and Sarah get in the weeds on Decathlon. So I have to say, I talked to the woman, Lauren Kuntz, who organized the first ever women's Decathlon World Championship. And we actually talked to her last year before the inaugural event. And they're about to do their second this upcoming weekend. And I feel like now that I've talked to her a few times, a year ago, I had all the questions that I'm sure everybody else has about why do we need a women's decathlon? But we already have the heptathlon, and there are good athletes in the heptathlon. And now I feel bad because I think she gets those questions 100 times every week.
Right.
But she gamely answered them again for me.
Yes.
For the podcast.
Yes. So. Let's listen to the interview because she did a great job of answering all of those questions.
All right, I am here with Lauren Kuntz, I want to say founder, starter, organizer of the Women's Decathlon World Championships, right?
Yeah.
The everything.
Who is the world's greatest athlete World Championships.
So tell us, the second ever is coming up this weekend. What does that entail? Like, just give us the high level, like, where is it? Who is it?
So the decathlon, for those who don't know, is basically the all around of track and field. So it's just kind of who is the best combination runner, jumper, thrower. So over the weekend, you're doing 10 events. You're doing 4 running events, 3 throwing, 3 jumping events. You get points in each event based off of how you score. And then whoever gets the most points is the winner at the end of the day. So this event is happening outside of Cleveland, Ohio. We have about 20 athletes from all over the world that are going to be coming to compete for that title of who is the world's greatest athlete. And it's also going to be actually on TV. So if you tune into AWSN on Sunday, the 17th of August from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, you will get to see the competition itself, as well as we'll be live running the final event and crowning the winner. So be sure to tune in.
And this is the second ever. You guys did the first ever last year. Why? I mean, at first when I saw this last year, I was like, the first ever? That can't be right. But why was there never a Women's Decathlon World Championship?
Yeah, so track and field has a very long history of sexism in the sport. And this is kind of the last remaining area where there's still a difference between men and women. So basically you go back to like very early Olympic days and you were letting women do track and field. That was one of the early Olympic events they were allowed to do. And even then there was, I think in the 1920s, women ran the 800. And at the end of the 800, if you have ever run it, you are on the ground, you are questioning your life choices and why you got there, but you're exhausted. And after this, the media really spun a narrative of this event is dangerous for women. Women should not be doing this. And you went through a really long period in track and field, basically from 20s until the 60s, where women couldn't do an 800. There were lots of events women could not do. And slowly we've been chipping away at this, where women finally could pole vault in 2000. In 2008, women could finally do the steeplechase. So this is kind of the last remaining inequality out there, where women don't do the decathlon. Instead, they have a 7-event alternative, which slowly over time went from a triathlon to a pentathlon to a heptathlon. And like the last remaining step is kind of that decathlon, do the full thing. And we're still fighting that battle. It's kind of crazy to look at 2025 and be like, women literally can do every individual event. Why don't we just let them do the all around like the men do?
Sure. The heptathlon, though, I mean, at this point, I'm going to get the date, I'm sure but the heptathlon's been around since the 60s or the 70s. And obviously at this point, we have some pretty big names that have done it, right? Like, I was about to say Joy or Kersey, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to get that wrong. But, you know, like stars of the years, Anna Hall right now. And so it has its whole own history. And I think like there's some people who are like, well, why should we take that away from them? Like they're literally different events than are competed in the decathlon. So, you know, people want to do that now.
Yeah.
Instead.
So first of all, actually the heptathlon didn't exist until 84. LA 84 was the first
84. Okay. Thank you.
Prior to that, it was a pentathlon. And the pentathlon, they decided, this isn't hard enough. We need something that's a bit more difficult for the women. In the 80s, women still weren't allowed to pole vault. So they could never have considered doing a decathlon, right? Like that is just mind boggling. Their uterus could fall out from falling that high. So that's kind of where the heptathlon came about. And it is like an amazing event unto itself, right? Like I think the women that do heptathlon are incredible athletes. It definitely skews more sprints than decathlon does. You're losing some of the technical events in the heptathlon that decathlon has. So it is a different sport. And by no means do I ever want to take that away from anybody, but I'm also just like, there's women that want to do a decathlon. Why can't they, right? Like, why are we telling these women like, no, you can't do this other thing? And that's really what we're pushing for is like, we just want the ability to do the decathlon. I don't want to ever tell a heptathlete you can't do that event. At the same time, though, I think we have to remember that the heptathletes are in the heptathlon because that's the only path that was available to them. Like it wasn't always these women were choosing, would I rather do a HEP or a DEC, in the sense that they're equivalent and have equivalent opportunities in college and financially afterwards if I become pro. It was like, oh, you're a woman, you're doing a heptathlon.
Right. So what is, and I know you guys have a proposal, like what is your plan then? Do you want to have the heptathlon and the decathlon at the Olympics? Do you want to have, are we going to like have a transition period? Like how are we going to get from 7 to 10 different events?
So World Athletics has basically said they won't do both. So they're kind of the ones that are saying like, no, you got to choose one or the other. And I'm like, that's not great. I don't love having a choice because they are different events. I personally am more of like, if men want to do a heptathlon, let them. And if women want to do a decathlon, let them. Like let both exist. In the case where World Athletics is forcing a choice, we've really been advocating for a gradual transition to the decathlon, right? We want to really honor the fact that heptathletes have spent their entire lives preparing to be heptathletes. And it is unfair to suddenly go like, in 3 years, you need to go learn these other events and like fully transition your training. So we've really been advocating of World Athletics should set a date. We're pushing for 2032 games, that is the year there would be a transition. And that gives people ample time to plan out if they're going to transition, what that looks like. And if you're young in the sport, you grow up knowing that this is what you're going to be training for. We really do view it as like, in my mind, this is for that next generation of athletes, right? Like they're kind of the ones that we should be thinking about, we should be planning for, keeping in mind current athletes, their elite status, how they finish their careers. But it's more of a change for the girls that are currently 10, 11, 12 in the sport, that they can grow up in a sport where they're really placed on equal footing as the men.
And is there because obviously one of the other things at like a world athletics level, Olympic level is always kind of this idea, like, does competition and depth exist out in the world, right? Like, does this sport already exist? And is there like a development pathway for young girls to learn the decathlon? Are there athletes who do the decathlon? Like, is that a thing out there in the world?
That's part of what we're trying to build, right? Like that's part of why we're organizing these world championships is, as a young woman, it is so hard to find a meet that's going to let you in a decathlon. Like the first decathlon I ever did, I was like in my late 20s, and the only meet I could find that let me in was like a Vermont high school meet. So it was like me and 14-year-olds. like this is it, right? Like, and it's changing, right? Like we're making more opportunities out there. It's not impossible for young girls to train for it, because you're just like, well, young boys train for it, right? Like track and field by and large is like both genders together. Like there's very rare you're going to find a pole vault place that's like, no, we only do women's pole vault, like all genders train together. So in my mind, the biggest pieces missing are really the opportunities to compete, right? Like why would you train for something that you can't ever compete in?
And so this competition this upcoming weekend, you said you have 20 like elite or like high level international athletes. You also have like juniors type of competition.
So we have both the elite section and then we have an open section, and that open is really geared, honestly, it's open to any female, age, ability. Like if you were like, hey, I want to come to Ohio and do a decathlon, I'd be like, great, sign up, like you're welcome to come. The goal, though, has really been pushing that to be kind of the young athletes. So I'm super excited that most of the entries in there are kind of in that under 22 age range. Our youngest is actually 14 years old. So that really has been like our target audience there, is give them an opportunity, let them try this sport, show them that they can do it, that they belong.
And what has been the reception so far? Like you guys had the first one last year. Kind of how did people respond? I mean, obviously we were talking about like world athletics and building up momentum and all that. Where are we on the momentum spectrum? You know?
We're, I'd say, early and like hopefully starting to hit an inflection point in my mind. We're still in the stage of a lot of people, you say, oh, like women can't do a decathlon, and they go, what do you mean, right? Like we're still in that kind of stage of like, unless you're really in the world of track and field, you kind of have no idea that this is a thing. But we're definitely starting to raise awareness, right? Like originally it was like really just a few US athletes and a few French athletes, and we're starting to see a lot more women around the world be like, I want to come do this. I'm super interested in this. As well as getting the All Women's Sport Network broadcast going this year has been a huge step up. It's enabled us to...
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's enabled us to do watch parties at bars around the US. So I think just kind of the awareness is really starting to grow of like, this is a thing, this is a sport, and this is happening. When it comes to USA track and field and world athletics, I think they still would like us to be a little annoying fly that goes away, but we're not going away. I think we're only getting louder. But I think we're probably, this year is like an exponential step up from last year. We're hoping to take another exponential step up.
Okay.
If you were to compare us to women's soccer, I'd say we're like early 90s if we're lucky right now.
Oh, okay. So next year, just gonna have like a Mia Hamm moment.
That's what we're going for.
Okay. And just, I mean, I'm sure some people are wondering, how did you get into this? Like, I mean, you mentioned obviously the first decathlon you ever were able to do, but how did somebody even end up being like, hey, I want to try the decathlon?
Yeah, it kind of amazes me to this day, the path I took into it, because I didn't come to track and field until pretty late in my life. So I didn't start track until college. So I was 19, had been a gymnast, couldn't do gymnastics anymore because my college cut the sport. And I switched to pole vault because gymnasts generally are very good at pole vaulting. And it bothers me so much to this day that at 19, having been raised in an incredibly like feminist household, I never questioned the fact that I couldn't do a decathlon. Like, I just entered this new world of track and field and was like, oh, okay, cool. Boys get to do that and I can't. All right, that sucks. But like,
because the heptathlon doesn't have a pole vault, so that's why it would have been like particularly
right. So it's like, I always loved the idea of multi-events because I was a gymnast. So I had all the different like events I was doing there, and there was all around. I was like, oh, that'd be so fun, but there's no pole vault and heptathlon, so I guess I can't. And it wasn't until I was in grad school and volunteer coaching with the university there that I started coaching decathletes. And I was like, wait, I can coach something I can't do? Like, this is crazy. And that's when I was like, okay, no, I like want to try this, right? Like going to the meets with my decathletes and like doing that full as a coach, seeing the whole thing happen. I was like, I want to do this. So I ended up convincing Brenner Abbott, the coach at Harvard that I directly helped, to let me become training partners with the men decathletes and like learn all these other 9 events. And then eventually like found that tiny decathlon in Vermont that would let me in as a woman and like just made my debut there. And we're just like, I love this. I want to keep doing this. I want women all over the world to be able to do this. And it's just kind of been a gradual, didn't go from there all the way to organizing world championships, but kind of a 10-year evolution that got us to where we are
now. Okay. So are you going to compete in your own world championship?
I will not this year. My family mutinied last year and said they would no longer help me organize because it's gotten so big that if I compete and organize, they're like, it's too much for us to like fill in the gaps for you. Which I'm totally fine with. Like, as I said, this is about the next generation of athletes. So it's actually been really wonderful to find a role that I feel like I am really well suited for beyond just being an athlete that actually has a massive impact on the sport. If I'm like, yes, we need our athletes like 1,000%. And we have amazing young women that are way better than I am at this sport. And I'm super excited to create a platform for them. And I'm like, so grateful that there is still this opportunity for me to be like, what we also need is the person that's building opportunities and trying to grow this and enabling the athletes to just be athletes and just compete and just do what they're amazingly good at.
All right, tell us to close out, who are some of the like best athletes in the women's decathlon that we should know about?
So France has a couple really big names out there. So Roseva from France, she is just off of having won the French national championships in the decathlon. And she has been on an insane trajectory lately. So she took second last year at the World Championships and has just been basically PRing in every single event. So she is somebody you should keep an eye on because in my mind, she is going into this competition as like the favorite. Also from France, we have Adeline. And she took 5th last year. She Hasn't competed a ton this year. So she's a little bit of a dark horse of kind of where is she at fitness wise. But she's kind of always one in my mind that you need to have in there, as she is a gamer. And when big meets happen, she pulls out incredible performances. On the US side, we have Jordan Bruce. She took third at last year's World Championships, and has also been improving in a lot of the events that she's newer to, particularly pole vault. So she's somebody to keep an eye on. And then I actually personally think we could see a totally surprise performance from one young woman where this is her first decathlon ever. She is representing the Netherlands. But she is coming off of a record-setting season. She won both indoor and outdoor combined events at the NCAA Division III championships, set national records in both of them, already is an incredible discus thrower, which is rare to see in a heptathlete. So I think it actually could be a really interesting competition where it's going to come down to how quickly did Nikki learn to pole vault? And then how does that 1500, the final event, go? Because Roseva is not a great 1500 meter runner. That's probably her weakest event. And then Nikki is a phenomenal 800 runner. So it's a question of, will that 800 translate to a 1500 well? So it could be a really interesting race at that end point of, could Roseva get enough points prior to be able to not have a good 1500, and can Nikki avoid losing a ton of points in that pole vault to still really have a chance to run hard and fast for a good 1500?
Sure. Yeah, one of the things, like you had mentioned, that's different between the decathlon and the heptathlon is the final event's always like the distance running, and in the decathlon it's a full mile, 1500, and in the heptathlon it's only an 800, which is still hard. But they're obviously like more suited to the shorter one because there's a lot of sprints. So watching them try and then pull out a mile after they've done hundreds and hurdles and it's like it's always something. It's something to watch. Like they are falling over on the track.
Yeah,
it's hard
because it's like an 800. You can sprint and you'll be in pain, right? Like you will regret your life choice at the end of an 800 sprinting. You can't do that in a 15. You will hit a wall on a 15 that you have not experienced before. So it's a really interesting final event because you're just like, they've given everything and now they have to dig as deep as they possibly can. And like, yeah.
So people can watch on the All Women Sports Network. I didn't realize that was what it was on. It's like Whoopi Goldberg's new network.
Whoopi Goldberg's network. You can get that on Pluto TV, which is free. So anybody can stream on Pluto. And then if you have Amazon, they actually just launched on Amazon TV as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much and good luck this weekend. Hopefully it all goes smoothly.
That is, pray for some good weather for us.
Okay, so I feel bad because at one point I said, that, you know, we had famous heptathletes and I was like, and I couldn't remember all the names. Because I wanted to say Jackie Jordan Kersey. And then I was like, oh no, was it FloJo instead? Because I got my Kerseys mixed up there, you know, then I felt really bad. And then I was like, oh, anyway, it was Jackie Jordan Kersey. We did have famous heptathletes over the years.
Yes, for sure. One thing I really like that Lauren said is I like that, like, her group of advocates and organizers are planning for a transition plan for the athletes, because you do have this amazing history of women in, like you're saying, like in heptathlon. You have athletes who are preparing for Olympic Games in heptathlon, and the decathlon's a different sport. Like, I don't think I even realized that, like, only between the heptathlon and I thought a decathlon was like a heptathlon with 3 more sports on it.
Right, they're just totally different, actually.
But it's actually not. Yeah. Like 5 of the sports overlap, but as you talked about with Lauren, like the running distances differ. There's also obviously the pole vault is the big one.
Right.
That used to be like, well, women can't do pole vault.
Right.
But yeah, it is like quite a different sport, and I also liked what she said about how it's the decathlon's designed to find the best overall track and field athlete, with like 10 events, you kind of get that. But yeah, this transition phase so that you can have a new crop of athletes who have trained for the decathlon who come through. So you're not necessarily just like taking all those heptathletes who have trained all their lives for these 7 events and like cutting them off from their Olympic prospects, but you see it coming at an Olympics that's further down the road.
And I think, it's one of the challenges ongoing whenever we talk about like women still race less days than men in like the Tour de France, right? Or like women weren't able to swim. Well, this is just dumb, but didn't swim the 1,500 meters until like last Olympics, 2 Olympics ago.
Oh yeah, it was very recently. It's been since we've been podcasting.
I was like, that's a
for sure.
worse example because there isn't a trade-off. But in a lot of cases, there's a like, well, women do one thing and men do the other thing. And the reason, and I think one of the struggles ongoing is that the reason that exists almost always is because there was is it sexism? And the answer is yes. Yeah. And it's like baked in. But now you have like a history in the heptathlon or in, you know, the shorter cycling races or in like you have, and there are athletes who are really good at those things. And those athletes don't necessarily want to give up their professional careers to make a transition. But that doesn't change the fact that like the reason we don't have a 3-week Grand Tour or a 10-event multi-sport in track and field is like that is still because of baked in sexism, right? So it's like you kind of have this like, yeah, you're like, yeah.
So I think, and the question, okay, here I have a question for you because when we talked about the Grand Tours, and you were saying, oh, it's when you rubbed a lot of people the wrong way on social when you were saying that like you find the men's 3-week tours, cycling tours kind of boring, and that you prefer the shorter format like the 7 to 9 days because it's more exciting, etc. Like, do you think does some of that apply here with the heptathlon with the 7 events versus decathlon with 10? Like,
they're both.
Is there some reason that the heptathlon's better?
I mean, I'm sure the athletes who like do it would tell you it's more exciting. Like, you know, it's not as much as like survive, right? Like, but it's still over 2 days, so it's still the same amount of like spread out over 2 days. It still ends with the longest running event, so it's still kind of like you have to do all these things and then you have to like suck it up for that last final running event. It's just like the 800 is a different beast than the 1,500, right?
Right, with that, which the heptathlon has an 800 and the decathlon has the 15,
right, which is kind of a different, like, it's not like one's better or harder or it's just that for a lot of these athletes, they're sprint athletes and power athletes because they're throws and jumps and the 100 and the 4, right? And so the 800 is more in their wheelhouse. So when you throw the 1,500, it really does make it a little bit more of a rounded event.
More of a well-rounded athlete.
So I don't know if there's so to your question there, like, is the heptathlon more exciting? Like, I mean, I'm sure there are people who would think that. I don't know that it's inherently true because it's still a 2-day event. It still has like all the structure. And you're missing pole vault, which is a lot of people's like, and you're missing the 1,500, which is a lot of people, right? Like those two things do add an element.
Yeah. And then, you know, at the end of the day, you end up with the conversation around the Olympics, which affects a lot of sports, which is that, like, they have to limit the number of athletes at the games. Like, you can't just add a women's decathlon and a men's heptathlon and have two different events on the men's and women's sides because you add so many more athletes. Like, would there be a way to do it maybe where...
Maybe they just have the same athletes do both, right? You know how they're always trying to come with more events that have the same athletes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just... Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it'll be great.
You could just send, like, the country could send any athletes they want from any existing single sport track and field event to the heptathlon or the decathlon.
Great. This is a great plan, Sarah. People are going to love it.
This is my plan. I've solved.
Yeah. I mean, that's like in the swimming, like we were just saying, the women's swam 800, the men's swam 1,500. And so the same way, like women didn't get to do 15, men didn't get to do 8 for a pretty long time. But it didn't add athletes. It just sort of was like, the same athletes had better events than other events, you know? So,
yeah.
This is me shrugging on an audio podcast. You're
like,
unless you're watching
Kelly,
on YouTube, yeah.
Kelly shrugs a lot on emoji as well.
It's true.
During written communication.
So she has convinced me. I'm just saying, because basically a year ago I was like, do they need a decathlon? But now she's convinced me that, at least in terms of like something for kids to grow up into and build into, it is sort of bullshit to not have the decathlon. Like she said, why can you coach it, but you can't race it? That seems sort of ridiculous.
That was wild. Yeah, I do think we should kind of get rid of like anything that has been built on historical sexism.
Well, that would involve a lot of things, like in the world.
It would. This is a completely new world that I'm building right now, starting with the decathlon, apparently.
Right.
So, like, let the women do the decathlon. Great. I even think, to our conversation about cycling and the Grand Tours and the length of the races, like the idea that women have a 3-week Grand Tour at some point would be really cool. Like, not to get rid of the other tours, but to sort of have a both and situation there.
Yeah, obviously
something to aim for.
I think the barrier between that is not just like the money for them, for sure. It's also like they need more resources and team writers, and in the same way like WNBA needs more players on a roster if they're going to keep upping the game schedule, right? So like a lot of these big jumps, like you can't just be like, okay, we're going to do the men's thing now without the resources and structure.
Yeah,
it goes badly. Yeah.
Sure. Well, and we saw like in the Tour de France Femme. Sorry, what? Weirdly, I keep going back to cycling after.
Yeah, you're just really focused on cycling.
Just like the cycling analogies are just coming out of me here. But just remembering how like the women didn't have a proper concussion protocol during the Tour de France Femme, and that's over 9 days they didn't. So we have to be in a position where we can afford to have 3 weeks of those proper safety protocols.
Yeah,
as well.
And you saw a lot of injuries and illness kind of coming out of there is an argument that they have packed more race days in without upping the number of riders on teams, and you're seeing it in the WNBA now too. So anyway, if we're going to do decathlon, I hope that there are like coaches, because it's 10 sports you have to learn. You need like coaching and you need structure, and it is not a cheap sport because there are 10 sports. So,
I feel like I would have loved the decathlon as a kid. If how you said before that you're waiting to be recognized discovered for netball. I think that was just an example, but I'm waiting to be discovered for like one of these like mega multi-sport things like decathlon, like the all-around athlete. Like, bring her over here. She needs to do everything.
There you go. That is
seems likely.
That seems likely at this point that you're going to be discovered as the next great decathlete.
Yeah, that's right. I'm ready for it.
I will say, so things to watch this upcoming week. Ready? On the topic of sports that you're just waiting to be discovered, didn't know were a thing. I just learned about the World Games. The World Games.
The World Games.
Yes. And it is apparent. It is apparent. Ready? Okay. It is apparently every 4 years, 4,000 athletes. It's like the biggest multi-sport competition after the Olympics. It's in China, being held in China right now, and it's like all the sports that aren't in the Olympics yet. So it's both
aren't in the Olympics yet.
Yeah. So it's both things that are about to be added to the Olympics, like flag football. That would be a good example, flag football. But then it's also things like squash. I mean, that's a more normal example, but like tug of war, free diving, duathlon, like floorball. There was some things I had like never heard of, like
floorball.
Yeah. So it was like 30 different sports, and it's happening right now. And I only found this out because US won sixes lacrosse. Go US. And then I was like, what the hell is the World Games? And then we both come from a world of triathlon, and World Triathlon is the triathlon governing body, and they are supporting the duathlon at the World Games because that is the sport that is not in the Olympics.
Not in the Olympics.
But there's also flag. So obviously, a lot of people are excited about flag football because this is kind of the last big test event before it'll be in the LA Games. But there's also crazy things like free diving and tug of war. Taiwan won the tug of war for the 5th straight World Games title. Bet you didn't know that.
The tug of war is such a classic sport. Like it is. If you think of like the beginning of sport, this is completely like in Sarah's legend head. I'm making this up now. Sure. But like, if you go like, what is the original sport? Like tug of war must be in there. Sport. Well, it must be one of them. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Bring tug of war to the Olympics.
I think it was. I think there was like a 1904. There was like 2 where it was in the Olympics. So I remember I used to be like a very big Olympics history buff person, and there was like pictures of this used to be a thing. Anyway, Taiwan competing as Chinese Taipei in the IOC because that's whatever, fucking weird. They won their 5th world title. So there you go.
Here's what I think should happen. We should bring the tug of war back to the Olympics, and it should be the same way as like I recommended the decathlon for track and field. They should just like every country should get to just put their like how many people are on a tug of war side? 10?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Let's say it's 10. I'm making it up. Their best, who you think is going to be your strongest 10 athletes out of your entire pool of athletes from the Olympics, and they're just like your side of the tug of war, and then like every country gets to do that, and then you have like a tournament.
Okay, noted. It's it is wild, and you can watch it because it is backed by the IOC, like the International Olympic Committee. So it is on like their like kind of Olympics channels and stuff like that. It's not just like a random thing that Kelly made up. It's like apparently quite big. And it's like all these sports, some of varying degrees of bigness that aren't in the Olympics.
And it's still going on right now.
And it's still going on right now because it's like a week and a half or whatever. So you should watch
the World Games.
The flag football is what everybody's very excited
about. Go watch the World Games. Well, Kelly, I tell you what, I'm excited because I'm going to the WNBA game in Vancouver.
Nice.
On Friday. It's Atlanta Dream versus Seattle Storm. Okay. So it's one of their traveling, events. And I just found out I got courtside tickets. So I'm going to be there, sitting right there, waiting for someone to sweat on me or something, or like.
Did you
go for a rebound and fall into me? Yeah, the fit. I do have to think about the fit now. So don't worry though. I'll bring it.
Oh, I feel confident you're going to bring something that gets TV attention.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it should maybe include sequins.
See, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've actually never been to a WNBA game. Oh. I've been to international women's basketball, like at the Olympics. At here in Victoria, we've covered some games where our national team played against Japan or Portugal. But I've never been to a WNBA game, so this is exciting.
Okay. Well, that's very exciting. I think I am not going to any sports this weekend, but I'm sure I will watch many, many sports. The World Games are now my new obsession. So
great. Well, I'll look forward to you reporting back next week. And Kelly, what's your feisty
pick for the week?
Pick of the week.
Feisty pick of the week. All right, I'm gonna have to go with Victoria Mbako, the Canadian player, 18-year-old who beat Naomi Osaka at the Montreal Open, which never knew I cared about the Montreal Open. Didn't even know it was an event until like 2 weeks ago. But she's 18. She became the first player to beat 4 Grand Slam champions in one tournament. So she had to beat Coco Gauff, Naomi Osaka. Oh, I'm going to lose the other 2. But she had to beat like 4 people on her way to the win.
Yep.
It's not like she came totally out of nowhere. She had like a decent performance at the French Open earlier this year. But it still was like she still like skyrocketed from like 81st ranked in the world now to like 24th ranked, right? She like tripled her lifetime earnings by winning that tournament.
Did you see how she like fell in the semis and hurt her wrist?
Yeah, that's why she's resting now before the US Open.
Yeah, I was watching this interview with her and she hurt her wrist, and then her wrist she like in the semis. So she like let it rest before the finals and it was all swollen. And then she just like went out there and won.
Yeah, apparently, according to people who know a lot more about tennis than I do, I guess she had a number of games throughout the tournament where she was like behind or down or was struggling, and then she just kind of like adjusted and rallied and came back, which is like quite hard to do because there's certainly a like momentum and mental aspect to tennis, according to the Challengers movie. There's a heavy mental aspect.
Right.
Well,
yeah. In tennis?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I mean, I'm not a tennis expert,
but
clearly, but yes, massive mental game in tennis.
So she now has a seeded spot at the US Open too, which is one of the big 4 Grand Slams, and so that's in 2 weeks. So I feel like that was the feel good story of the week. Did you know a year ago today she was ranked 350th in the world?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like if you want to believe in miracles, this is the story for you.
There you go.
You know, like to go from like 350th, then come in at 85th, and then be like 24th in the world and winning the tournament. Like amazing. I love it.
So that's my pick for the week.
That's a great pick. Okay, my pick's Molly Ehlers. and she is the 11-year-old who finished the Tour Divide, which is, oh gosh, the cycling.
It's all about the cycling right now, yeah.
This week, who knew? Where is it coming from? Next week, I promise I'll talk about something else. 2,745 miles from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. And yeah, 11 years old. She rode with her dad.
I was going to say, to be clear, she rode with her dad. She was not like out there on her own. Yeah. I don't want people coming up in our DMs being like, "Oh my God, child endangerment." No, she was with her dad. I was laughing about it because the schools near us have just started. It's back to school. And I was like, she's gonna have a great like, what did you do this summer?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I can't even. Yeah, that's fantastic. Good for her. So that's why I picked her, Molly Ehlers. Okay. Well done. Okay.
Great. Send us your feisty picks of the week. Send a voice note, a voice email, a voicemail to podcast@LifeFeisty, and leave us a review, rate us. Anything else, Sarah? Share us with your friends.
Share us with your friends, definitely. I think that's it for this week. I look forward to reporting back about my WNBA game, and see you next week, Kelly.